Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Guruve Namah. Srimad Padvakya Praman Paravarin Vedamar Pratishta Panacharya Nikila Darshan Samanvayacharya Sanatan Vedic Dharm Pratishtapan Sat Sampradaya Paramacharya Bhakti Yoga Rasavatar Bhagavatanand Shri Vibhushit JagadGuru Tam Swami Shri 1008 Shri Kripaluji Maharaj हे अकारण करुणा पतित पावन श्री कृष्ण, तुमसे विमुख होने के कारण अनादिकाल से हमने अनंत अनंत दुख पाए एवं पा रहे हैं। पाप करते करते अंतःकरण इतना मलिन हो चुका है कि रसिकों द्वारा यह जान भी अपनी वात्सल्यमय दृष्टि से हमारी प्रतीक्षा कर रहे हो, तुम्हारे शरण में नहीं आ पाता। O my divine beloved, causelessly merciful Sri Krishna, having ignored you since time immemorial, I have been suffering, committing sins life after life. I've made my mind so impure. Even though your saints are telling me you're waiting for me, with arms outstretched to embrace me, with a divine life to grace me, still I fail to surrender to you completely. All glories to Sri Sri Radhesham. All glories to all saints and sages. All glories to the Devas. All glories to all aspiring souls. Thank you for joining me. Bhakti. Bhakti is a Sanskrit word meaning love for God. It is what you practice, and it is also the goal and that which you attain. So bhakti has these two aspects. That which you practice and that which is also the final goal. God has innumerable powers. Out of these innumerable powers, there are three main ones. Sat, Chit, Anand. Sat means God is beginningless and endless, eternally existing. Chit means He has unlimited knowledge. He knows past, present, and future of all the unlimited souls. And He is capable of creating, maintaining, and destroying these multi-universes countless times. And Anand means His love, bliss, potency. So Sat means existence, Chit means knowledge, Anand means His love, bliss, potency. When a human being, his existence merges into true knowledge, you come to the understanding that it is God that is the object of your love. By that time, you will have the kind of detachment brought about by dispassion for the desires of the world, which will allow you to perceive that God is the object of your love, and therefore your ultimate desire is to know and love God. Knowing God, like knowing anyone, before you can love anyone, you need to know them. Then you will decide whether they are worthy of your love or not. So the study of the scriptures and hearing from those who have already studied the scriptures is necessary. So when your knowledge has borne its fruit, you will know that it is God that you really desire. And it is God that has true love and true happiness to give you, because His main potency is Anand. Anand is a Sanskrit word meaning love, bliss. Bliss means an ever-increasing happiness. We know that this world's happiness is temporary, and it also is accompanied by an experience of diminishing returns. You know, you eat and eat and eat. The first morsel of food is delicious. When you get filled, it's tasteless. Diminishing returns. That's the world's pleasure. Whereas God's bliss is ever increasing. You have to taste and see. So this love, bliss, potency, Anand, when it merges into a sincere search for God, you experience God's divine power called Shakti. Shakti means Haladani Shakti. God's personal potency, this love, bliss, potency merges into Haladani Shakti, and the essence of Haladani Shakti is Bhakti, divine love. This potency, this aspect of God's innumerable powers is so profound and perplexing that it even controls God. The one who loves God with all his heart and all his soul, God becomes their servant. There is nothing that individual want or desires that will not be fulfilled. It is why it is the most rare achievement there is to attain love for God. You must practice love for God, but to attain that love, you will get it from someone who has already attained that love, meaning a Satguru, a true Guru, someone who has truly fallen into love with God, and God has put in his heart that divine love. And so the same thing will happen for the practitioner. When you practice to love God with a selfless, single-minded desire, then when it bears its fruit, through God's grace, you will attain that love. And Sri Krishna is describing it, that this is the mental disposition that begins that process. Vyavyasatmika buddhir ekaha kurunandana bahusakta hi anantas cha buddhayo vyavasa inam. Which means, O Arjun, descendant of the Kuru dynasty, the resolute intelligence to practice bhakti, love for God, is one-pointed, but the intelligence of the irresolute, those who nurture material, worldly desires, is certainly endless, splayed all over the place, many branch with endless desires. So one has to have vyavas atmika buddhir, a resolute, single-minded desire. Ekaha, single-minded, meaning there should be no other desire except to love and serve God. This is the kind of mental disposition that will afford the opportunity of loving God. Rupa Goswami, a great acharya of Lord Chaitanya's lineage, said, Anya vilasita sunyam Jnana karmadi aravritam anukulyena krishnanu shilanam bhaktir uttama, which means the highest devotion which is necessary to attain bhakti, love for God. The highest devotion is that which is cultivated for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord Krishna with no desire except to love and serve Him. This is what is absolutely necessary. And the Lord goes on to explain that Yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadanti avipaschitaha vedavada rataha parta nanyad ashtiti vadinaha kamat manaha swargaparaha janma karma phala pradam kriya visesha bahulam bhogishvarya gatim prati bhogishvarya prasaktanam tya parta chetasam vyavasatmika buddhihi samadahu na vihiyate, which means, O son of Kunti, unwise persons not knowing the true purpose of life propagated by the Vedas is the attainment of love for the Supreme Lord, and are fond of interpreting the fleeting, enchanting words of Karam Kanda, which is the section of the Vedas performing rituals, give material benefits, and consider these rituals to be the ultimate practice of God consciousness. Their hearts are filled with desires, and their goal is to attain a material heaven. They advocate many sacrifices and rituals that yield wealth, worldly pleasures, and high birth. Thus, attached to enjoyment and opulence, deluded by temporary pleasures, they do not attain the resolve to dedicate themselves in attaining love for the Supreme Lord, Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. So Sri Krishna is advising, therefore, this is verses 41, 42, 43, 44. In verse 45, chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord then recommends to Arjuna, Trigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistray Gunyo Bhava Arjuna, Nirdvanvo Nitya Satvashto, Niryogakshem Atmavan. The Vedas deal with three types of desires: good, passion, and evil desires, and 5 types of liberation, accommodating persons who are ignorant of the ultimate goal, bhakti, which is to attain love for God and experience the reciprocation of God's love for one. Arjuna, my suggestion is to give up concern of praise and criticism and all pursuit for gain and preservation of what is gained. Stay in the mindset of goodness, and by reason, by a resolute intelligence, by reason, which means now you understand that all the desires of the world are really as sources of suffering. How? Accompanying the acquisition of anything in this world is a loss of peace of mind. And the preservation of what is acquired is even more substantial loss of peace of mind. And most of mankind is busy in the practice of acquisition and preservation of what is acquired. So they live in a complete misery of no peace of mind. And then they call themselves intelligent. And they think this is progress. To live in a state where there is no peace of mind. They can't even sleep properly. They got to take sleeping tablets to sleep. Why? Because they are completely attached to only acquisition and preservation of what is acquired. Therefore, no peace of mind. Therefore, the Lord says in 266, Nasti budhira yuktasya, nacha yuktasya bhavana, nacha bhavayataha shanti ashantasya kutaha sukham. The one who cannot be satisfied with only his needs, and who is constantly running after more and more of the world, who cannot give up the desires of the world, he cannot meditate on God, because you have one mind. And when your mind is completely usurped in the practice of acquiring and preserving what is acquired, then which mind will you turn to God? Your mind will only be wherever you consider and whatever you consider to be your treasure. Just as Jesus said, show me your treasure, I'll tell you where your mind is. So the one who cannot give up the desires of the world, he cannot meditate on God. And the one who cannot meditate on God can have no peace of mind. Your mind is full of the world, no peace of mind. Now how can there be happiness for the one lacking peace of mind? And look at that. Look at that tragedy. Look at the irony of it. We're running after the things of the world with the hope of attaining happiness, and the same things that we are running after is really the source of misery. And even so foolish, we can be educated university graduates, and they themselves are caught in this trap. And they're even praying to God to give them the things of the world, which really takes away their peace of mind. Why? Because they're caught in the acquisition and preservation of what is acquired, which takes away their peace of mind. So one has to be single-minded in his desire to love God. An example of this single-minded attempt is given in the scriptures. There's a description of a great saint. His name is Ramakrishna Paramhans. Ramakrishna Paramhans attended the Rath Yatra. Rath means chariot, and Yatra means travel. The travel by chariot of the Supreme Lord Jagannath. Once every year, there's a huge festival with almost 1 million people at times. And these chariots are many stories high, how big they are. And there's a street in which this chariot passes through every year. And it's lined with hundreds and hundreds of shops that sell all kinds of religious paraphernalia. So Ramakrishna Paramhans was in this street where the chariot was passing and would pass yearly. And he saw an artist who was doing a very intricate drawing. And asked him, Bayaji, did the procession of the chariots pass already? And without lifting his head, that artist said no. Very boldly, very sure of himself. The shopkeeper in the next door said, hey, why are you lying to this saintly person? Don't you know this is Ramakrishna Paramhans? It's a sinful thing to lie to such a person. And the artist said, no, I didn't see anything. Ramakrishna Paramhans could penetrate his psyche. This is one of the abilities of great souls. He penetrated the mind of this artist and understood that this man is telling the truth. He was so absorbed in what he was doing that he didn't see or hear that huge procession of hundreds of thousands of people with drums playing, kartals playing, singing going on, with that multitude of people going by. He didn't see or hear them. Why? Because his mind was so completely focused. This is what is called the practice of bhakti. When one's mind becomes completely absorbed in thoughts of God. God alone roams in the mind. That is the practice of bhakti. Sri Tulsidas, he gave this analogy. He said, Kami hi nari pyari jimi, lobi hi priya jimi dhama, timi raghunatha nirantara, priya lagahu mohi ram. Which means, just like a greedy man loves wealth and always hankering for more, and as a young boy longs for a young girl, this is the practice of loving God. An analogy is given by my dear God brother Mukunda Swami. He describes that a wealthy shopkeeper, after the day's business, came home with his wads of notes and is counting, making a count of the day's sales. His wife at the same time finished cooking and telling him, come and eat. Don't let the dinner get cold. Come and eat. He's not listening to her, and she's actually disturbing him, so he has to recount. Several times she's disturbing him, come and eat, and he has to recount. So he's never finishing what he is doing, his recounting, and she decides to take some of the dessert, the kheer, and put it in his mouth with the hope that the taste will attract him and make him hungry. However, when he finished counting, he thought to himself, I've eaten my dessert, which is the sweet aspect of the meal. Oh, now I must have finished eating. Let me go wash my mouth and wash my hands. So this is how one has to practice devotion. When you become lost in thoughts of God alone, His pastimes, His names, His qualities, His saints, His abodes, and His pastimes. You become absorbed in thoughts of that alone, free of the desires and thoughts of the world. And as a young boy longs for a young girl, once King Akbar, who is known to be a very great worshipper of Allah, Muslims pray 5 times a day, and Akbar, whose great-grandfather gave him a prayer mat, which Akbar considered priceless, to be just no different from God Himself. So wherever Akbar the time reached, he would put down his mat and pray there. So one of the soldiers, a young man who was a royal guard of Akbar, accompanying him on his journey throughout India, he told his wife, his young wife, that look, we were apart for so long, and now it's an opportunity for us to meet. Akbar is going to be near our location where we live, and you can come there and we can have a few moments of meeting while he is doing his namaz, his prayer. The young woman, so eager to meet her beloved, ran across the mat of Akbar at the station. Akbar saw this and said to his minister Birbal, bring this girl to the court. She committed sacrilege. When she came there, he accused her of committing sacrilege. The girl said, I didn't even see you, my dear king. I didn't notice anyone. All I was thinking of is my beloved, and I didn't even see you there praying. I didn't see the mat or anything. But tell me something, my dear king. I was just running after an ordinary human being. And I was completely blind to anything else. How is it that I hear you're a great worshiper of Allah, praying 5 times a day? How did you notice me? That King Akbar was dumbfounded and thought to himself, yes, I am just a pretender. How could I see, I'm worshiping the Supreme Lord, and I can still see what's going on around me. When true worship takes place, you don't see or hear. You don't notice anyone next to you. You don't even experience your own presence. This is what practicing love for God entails and is required before you can attain God. That's why Mahaprabhu Chaitanya said that Nadanam najanam sundarim kavitam va Jagadisha kamaye mam janmane janmaneshwari bhavatad bhaktira haituki tvai. That, O Lord, creator and maintainer of this universe, I do not want wealth or luxuries. I do not want followers nor relationships of this body. I do not want sexual enjoyment from beautiful women. I do not want to be a poet, a scholar, or famous in any way. All I want is to life after life. Look, even he doesn't want liberation. Life after life is to love you and serve you selflessly. This is correct state of mind, the correct aspiration to practice bhakti, love of God. And it goes on. Mahaprabhu continues to say, when your longing becomes this state, Nayanam galada shru darya badanam gadgad rureya gira pulkair nichitam vapuhu karatavanam bhavishyati. Oh Lord, when there's a longing for God alone and nothing else is desired, then you will be in this state. Oh Lord, when will tears of love flow from my eyes? When will there be a trembling in my heart and body when I hear your glorious activities? When will my voice choke up, becoming dumbfounded when I sing of your glories and names? This will be a condition you will begin to experience. This is called bhav. Feelings will now enter you. And when you are about to attain God, this will be your condition. Yugaitam nimshena chakshushaha pravishaitam shunyaitam jagata sarvam govinda virename. Oh Lord, now tears are continuously flowing from my eyes in longing for you. A moment seems like if ages are going by. You know, when you're in serious pain, when you're in a very rough situation, time stops. So this will be a condition. Oh, the world has lost its charm. Every desired object has lost its charm. I feel as if I am in a void. Oh Lord, this is how my longing to meet with you have me feeling. So my dear beloved, aspiring souls, you have to become single-minded and desireless of the world if you want the ultimate experience of loving God, which is a gift of God and His greatest power, and experience the love of God in return. Mam eva e prapadyante maya metam tarantite. When one surrenders to God only, then you will be able to overcome the material desires. And then what? You will attain the reciprocation of God's love. Because it's when you initiate a desire to attain love for God, God can then reciprocate that desire. There is no other way. Thank you very much for joining me. Please join next week at this same time. You will hear JagadGuru Kripaluji Maharaj's lecture who is the true adept of God consciousness and who has attained love for God. Jai Shri Radhe.
That was a paid program, and the views and opinions expressed are those of the host and other speakers and do not reflect the views and opinions of TVG Channel 28.